They say weddings are about joy, about unity, about gratitude. At my daughter's wedding, I stood by the dance floor, holding a glass of wine I'd barely touched. I smiled as she laughed with strangers, wearing the dress I paid for. I smiled as she turned, called me an embarrassing relic, and threw her wine straight across the room at me. No one stopped her. No one even looked my way. So I set down my glass, wiped my hands, and walked out. Minutes later, while they celebrated without me, I made a few quiet calls, and by the time the sun set, the real wedding disaster had just begun. You won't believe what came next. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. Before the wine, the humiliation, the moment when everything changed. My life was built of small kindnesses and quiet sacrifices. My name is Margaret Lane, Maggie to friends and family, and I've spent my 65 years believing that love means putting others first. When my husband James died of a sudden heart attack, leaving me with 8-year-old Chloe and a mortgage I could barely afford, I didn't crumble. I taught 3rd grade during the day, tutored in the evenings, and somehow managed to attend every soccer game and dance recital. I darned socks, clipped coupons, and turned down thermostats. Each penny saved went into Chloe's future, college funds, study abroad opportunities, and eventually, the wedding fund. College first, marriage later, I used to tell her. She listened, at least about that part. After graduating from Charleston College, she landed a job at a prestigious marketing firm where she met Peter Richards. The Richards family owned half the historic properties in downtown Charleston and vacationed in places I'd only seen in magazines. The gold-embossed wedding invitation sits on my dresser this morning. Mr. and Mrs. Harold Richards request the pleasure of your company. My name as mother of the bride appears in small print at the bottom. I run my fingers over it as I finish dressing in the small room I've taken at Magnolia Creek Inn, the venue Chloe fell in love with immediately. "It's perfect, Mom," she'd gushed 6 months ago as we toured the grounds. The gardens for the ceremony, that grand reception hall. It's exactly what I've dreamed of. Later that day, when the coordinator discreetly slid across the contract with its breathtaking figure, I'd smiled and reached for my checkbook. "I'll cover the deposit today," I said when Chloe stepped away to take a call. Ben Foster, the venue manager, had looked at me with something like respect. "That's very generous, Ms. Lane." "It's what mothers do," I'd replied. The memory warms me as I fasten my pearl earrings, James's gift on our 5th anniversary. I've chosen a pale blue dress that took 3 shopping trips to find. Not too old-fashioned, not trying too hard to be young. Just right, or so the sales lady assured me. From my window, I can see the staff setting up, arranging chairs on the manicured lawn, placing flower arrangements on pedestals. The caterers have arrived, unloading trays from vans. The photographer wanders the grounds, testing light angles. All these details, most of which I've quietly funded over the past months. The final payments are due today, tucked in envelopes in my purse. Ben knows to find me after the ceremony for the venue balance. The photographer and caterer have my number. Chloe doesn't know the extent of my contributions. I've let her believe that Peter's family covered most costs. It seemed easier that way, especially as I noticed her growing discomfort with my presence around her new social circle. "Mom, could you maybe wear something a little less, for the engagement party?" She'd suggested months ago, eyeing my favorite cardigan with a grimace. "Of course, sweetheart," I'd said, swallowing the small hurt. What daughter doesn't want her mother to look her best? I checked my watch. 9:30 a.m. The ceremony isn't until 11, but I want to drop off my gift and see if Chloe needs anything. I pick up the small box wrapped in silver paper. Inside, my grandmother's sapphire brooch that's passed from mother to daughter for 3 generations. My mother gave it to me on my wedding day, and today I'll continue the tradition. The hallway outside Chloe's preparation suite buzzes with activity. Bridesmaids in matching robes, makeup artists with cases of supplies, someone's mother fixing a hem. I knock softly. "Come in," calls a voice that isn't Chloe's. I enter to find my daughter surrounded by her bridesmaids, all sleek, polished young women with expensive highlights and manicured nails. Cynthia Richards, Peter's mother, stands behind Chloe, adjusting her veil with proprietary fingers. "Mom," Chloe says, barely glancing up from her phone. "You're early." "I thought I might help," I offer, holding out the gift. "And I wanted to give you this before things get too hectic." Chloe takes the box with a distracted "thanks" and sets it aside unopened. We're actually about to do the champagne toast with the girls. Cynthia looks at me with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Margaret, that dress is sensible." Something in her tone makes the compliment feel like anything but. "Thank you," I reply, smoothing the fabric self-consciously. "Chloe, do you need anything? I could check on the flowers or—" "Everything's under control," Cynthia interrupts. "The wedding planner has it all in hand." "The wedding planner I'm paying for, I think, but don't say." "I'll just go check on things downstairs then," I say instead. Chloe barely nods, already turned back to her friends, who huddle around a phone showing something that makes them all giggle. I stand for a moment, invisible, before quietly slipping out. Downstairs, the vendor activity has increased. I spot Ben directing staff about table placements and approach him with a warm smile. "Good morning, Ben. Everything looks beautiful." "Ms. Lane." His face brightens with genuine warmth. "Yes, it's coming together nicely. Your daughter will have a stunning day." "I hope so." I gesture to my purse. "I have the final payment ready whenever you need it." He lowers his voice. "After the ceremony is fine. You've been so generous with all the upgrades Chloe requested." I wave away his words. "It's her special day. I wanted it to be perfect." As I place my small gift box on the already crowded gift table, I notice Cynthia's friends arriving. Women with designer handbags and jewelry that catches the light. They air kiss and exclaim over the venue, their voices carrying across the garden. "Quaint, isn't it?" one says. "Though I would have chosen the Charleston Club personally." "Well, you know, budget constraints," another replies with a knowing laugh. "The mother is a school teacher, after all." I pretend not to hear, busying myself with straightening my gift. This day isn't about me or my feelings. It's about Chloe stepping into the life she's chosen, a life I've sacrificed to make possible. As guests begin to arrive, I take my seat in the front row on the bride's side. The chair feels exposed, like a stage where I must perform the role of proud mother without revealing the 1,000 small cuts of the day. I fold my hands in my lap and practice my smile. For Chloe, I can endure anything. The music begins, signaling the start of a celebration I've dreamed of since the day she was born. But as the garden fills with people who look through me, rather than at me, I can't shake the feeling that I'm watching a play where everyone knows their lines except me. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The ceremony unfolds like a perfect tableau from a magazine spread. Chloe glides down the aisle on a carpet of rose petals, her dress catching the golden Charleston sunlight. Peter waits at the altar, handsome in his tailored suit, surrounded by groomsmen who look like they've stepped from the pages of GQ. When they exchange vows, Chloe's voice carries clear and confident across the garden. I clutch my small handbag, knuckles white, blinking back tears no one notices. Afterward, guests flow toward the reception hall like a river of expensive perfume and tailored suits. I move with them, smiling when appropriate, murmuring congratulations when introduced. A photographer appears, waving Chloe and Peter toward the garden arbor. "Family photos now," he announces, consulting his list. "Richards family first, please." Cynthia, Harold, and various Richards relatives assemble with practiced ease. After several configurations, the photographer looks up. "And now, with the bride's family." I step forward, alone. Chloe's smile tightens almost imperceptibly. "Mom, can we do these quickly? The caterers need to know when to serve." The photographer positions me beside Chloe, then frowns. "Could you move slightly to the left, Mrs. Lane? The light is catching your dress oddly." I comply, sensing this is less about lighting and more about minimizing my presence in the frame. 3 quick shutter clicks, and it's over. "Perfect! Now the wedding party!" I'm dismissed without a word, left to find my own way to the reception. Inside the grand hall, tables are arranged in elegant concentric circles around a polished dance floor. Crystal glassware catches the light from chandeliers I'd specifically upgraded to create what Chloe called the perfect ambiance. I search for my name card, moving from table to table with increasing confusion. A young server notices my wandering. "Can I help you find your seat, ma'am?" "Yes, please." "Margaret Lane." He consults his list, then looks uncomfortable. "You're at table 16, ma'am." Table 16 is positioned in the far corner, partially blocked by a large floral arrangement. It's populated with distant Richards cousins I've never met, and the pianist who played the ceremony music. No one from my side. I couldn't afford to invite many friends on the limited guest count Chloe allocated me. "There must be some mistake," I murmur, more to myself than the server. "The seating chart was finalized yesterday," he replies apologetically. Yesterday. While I was still arranging payment transfers for the band's final installment, I take my assigned seat, introducing myself with a practiced smile. "I'm Margaret, Chloe's mother." "Oh." A woman in her 50s looks startled. "I assumed you'd be at the head table." "Apparently not," I reply, trying to keep my voice light. Dinner service begins. Dishes I selected during tastings Chloe was too busy to attend. The conversation at my table revolves around Richard's family connections and Charleston society events I know nothing about. I pick at my food, watching from afar as Chloe and Peter circulate, accepted and admired by their glamorous peers. Near the bar, I spot Cynthia holding court with several women, who cast occasional glances my way. Their laughter carries across the room, making me feel like a specimen under glass. I excuse myself and head toward the restroom, needing a moment alone. As I pass behind a large arrangement, Cynthia's voice carries clearly. "Doing our best to incorporate her, but you understand the aesthetic challenges. Some people simply don't fit certain settings." Has Peter discussed the holidays? Will he be expected to visit her little house? Another woman asks with poorly disguised horror. Chloe assures me they'll keep visits brief. She's apparently quite sentimental about Christmas decorations from the dollar store. Cynthia replies, triggering muffled laughter. My dollar store snowman collection. The one Chloe helped me build each year after James died, when we couldn't afford anything else. I nearly turn around, but the bathroom beckons as sanctuary. Inside, I splash cold water on my wrists and take deep breaths. In the mirror, my reflection stares back. A woman in a carefully chosen blue dress who suddenly feels like a stranger at her own daughter's wedding. When I emerge, toasts are beginning. I hurry back to table 16, not wanting to miss this tradition. Harold Richards speaks eloquently about welcoming Chloe to their family. Peter's best friend tells appropriate but amusing anecdotes about their college days. Chloe's maid of honor, a colleague I've met only twice, shares stories of their friendship that sound scripted for the occasion. No one invites me to speak. As dessert is served, Chloe finally makes her way to my table, Peter in tow. She's radiant in the way that happiness and expensive champagne can make a person glow. "Mom, are you having a good time?" She bends to give me a brief, perfume-clouded hug. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. Everything is perfect. Isn't it?" She beams. "Peter's mother found the most amazing event designer. She just transformed this place. The event designer whose fee appeared on my credit card statement last month." "You look beautiful," I say instead. "Thanks." She glances at her diamond watch, a Richards family gift. "Oh, we need to cut the cake soon. Peter, we should circulate to the Henderson table first. Mom, the cake is that flavor you liked at the tasting." She's halfway across the room before I can respond. The pianist beside me leans over. "I've played dozens of weddings. Family dynamics are always interesting." I manage a small smile but say nothing. As the evening progresses, I watch Chloe in her element, laughing and posing for photos with people who seem to value her in the way I always have. The band, another expense hidden on my modest teacher's credit card, plays music I don't recognize. When they announce the father-daughter dance, Peter steps in to twirl Chloe around the floor while guests coo over the touching moment. No mother-daughter dance was planned. I make my way toward the bar, needing something stronger than the champagne being circulated. Standing there, nursing a glass of white wine I don't really want. I hear them before I see them. Chloe and 3 bridesmaids, refreshing their drinks. "Your mom looks nice," one says with the particular intonation that means exactly the opposite. "Oh God, that dress," Chloe replies with a laugh that cuts me like glass. I tried to suggest something more appropriate, but you know how mothers are, stuck in their ways. "At least she's keeping to herself," another adds. "My mother would be inserting herself into every conversation." Well, what would she even talk about with these people? The latest developments in elementary education. Chloe's voice drips with a mockery I've never heard from her before. "I love her, but she's like an embarrassing relic from another time." The glass in my hand suddenly feels too heavy. I set it down carefully, my fingers trembling slightly. The band starts another song, and the moment stretches like taffy, sweet and painful all at once. I remain still, half hidden by a tall floral arrangement, as Chloe and her bridesmaids continue their conversation. Their words wrap around me like vines, constricting my breath, my heart, my hope. "Seriously, though," says a bridesmaid I recognize as Madison, Peter's cousin. "Didn't she have any input on your style growing up? My mother would have died before letting me leave the house in anything off the rack." Chloe laughs, the sound brittle and unfamiliar. "She tried her best with what she had. But a teacher's salary only stretches so far, you know? The first time I went to Neiman Marcus was in college." "God, I can't even imagine," Madison says with exaggerated horror. "Well, we can't all have trust funds," Chloe replies, her voice taking on an edge I've never heard before. "Some of us had to reinvent ourselves. Reinvent." The word echoes in my mind as I study my daughter's face, a face I used to cup between my palms while reading bedtime stories, a face I've memorized through every stage of life. When had she decided that the life we built together was something to escape rather than honor? The bridesmaids drift away, summoned by the photographer for more pictures. I should move, should find my way back to table 16. But my legs feel rooted to the polished floor. The band transitions to a slower song. Couples fill the dance floor, swaying in expensive clothes under the chandeliers I paid to upgrade. Ben Foster appears at my side, discreetly clearing his throat. "Ms. Lane, do you have a moment?" I follow him to a small antechamber off the main hall, grateful for the reprieve. "I wanted to confirm the final payment," he says, glancing at his tablet. "The contracted amount is due today, plus the additional charges for the extended bar service and the lighting upgrades Miss Lane requested last week." "Of course." My teacher's pension wouldn't cover half these costs, but I'd been saving for decades, living in the same modest house, driving the same reliable car, foregoing vacations and new furniture. All for this day, all for her. "I can transfer the funds now." Ben hands me his tablet, open to the payment portal. The figure makes me blink twice, though. I've known it was coming. As I type in my banking information, he shifts uncomfortably. "Ms. Lane, I hope you don't mind my saying, but you've been incredibly generous. Most parents split wedding costs these days." I look up from the tablet. "The Richards have contributed significantly." The lie feels necessary, a shield protecting Chloe's image. Ben's expression tells me he knows better, but is too professional to contradict me. "Of course. I just wanted to say that your daughter is lucky to have you." I complete the transaction and hand back the tablet, trying to smile. "Thank you, Ben." When I return to the reception, the atmosphere has shifted. The drinking has intensified, the laughter grown louder. I spot Chloe at the center of a circle, champagne glass in hand, her cheeks flushed with alcohol and attention. Cynthia Richards intercepts me before I can reach my table. "Margaret, I've been meaning to tell you what a lovely event this is." Her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. Quaint, but charming in its way. "Thank you," I reply simply, unwilling to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. "Chloe has come so far," she continues, her voice honeyed with false warmth. "It's remarkable how she's elevated herself. Most people would never guess her background." Each word lands like a carefully aimed dart. I think of the nights I stayed up grading papers while Chloe slept, the extra tutoring sessions I took on to afford her dance classes, the college application fees I paid by selling my grandmother's silver. Her background gave her the strength and values that make her who she is. I reply, surprised by my own steady voice. Cynthia's smile tightens. "Yes, well, she's a Richards now. We'll take good care of her from here." As if I've been merely a steward, holding a valuable object until its rightful owners claimed it. Before I can respond, a sharp ping of metal against glass cuts through the noise. The room quiets as Peter stands, champagne flute raised. "I'd like to propose a toast," he announces, his charm on full display. "To my beautiful bride, who has made me the happiest man alive." Guests murmur appreciatively as he continues, thanking his parents for their tremendous support and the wedding party for their participation. No mention of me or my contributions. "And now," Peter says with a flourish, "my bride would like to say a few words." Chloe rises, radiant in her designer gown, the soft lighting casting her in an ethereal glow. She thanks the Richards family with practiced grace, then turns toward the guests. "I want to thank all of you for sharing this perfect day with us. Looking around this room, I see everything I've ever aspired to be a part of." Her eyes sweep the crowd, carefully avoiding my corner. Some of you have known me since college, some only since I joined the firm. But you've all welcomed me into a world I once only dreamed about. She pauses, taking another sip of champagne. Something in her expression shifts, a hardness entering her eyes. I've come a long way from my simple roots, she continues, her voice taking on an edge. From second-hand clothes and budget birthday parties to, well, this. A ripple of uncomfortable laughter moves through the room. I feel eyes turning toward me, assessing, judging. To reinvention, Chloe declares, raising her glass higher. To becoming who you're meant to be, not who you were told you had to be. The words land like a slap. Is that what I did? Told her who she had to be? Was my love a constraint rather than a foundation? Something in me finally breaks. I stand, intending to quietly leave, to preserve whatever dignity remains. As I move toward the exit, I must pass near the small cluster where Chloe holds court. Our eyes meet. For a moment, I see a flicker of something. Recognition, perhaps even shame, cross her face. Then it hardens again, her gaze cooling as she turns to Madison. Speaking of reinvention, she says, voice pitched to Carrie. Remember that dress I wore to your birthday, junior year? The one you all thought was vintage designer? Madison laughs. The blue one with the amazing cut? Handmade. Mom salvaged the fabric from a thrift store dress and stayed up 3 nights straight, sewing it. Chloe's voice drips with condescension. I told everyone it was a rare Givenchy. The group titters. My steps falter as the memory surfaces. Chloe's tearful plea for something special to wear. My fingers raw from pushing the needle through thick fabric. Her face illuminated with joy when she tried it on. Mom, it's perfect. I look just like everyone else now. Just like everyone else. Never good enough as she was. I don't realize I've stopped walking until Chloe's voice cuts through my thoughts. Mother, she says, the formal address strange and cold on her lips. Are you leaving already? The party's just getting started. I meet her eyes, searching for the daughter I raised. I think it's best if I... Oh, come on, she interrupts, waving her champagne glass carelessly. Don't be such a wet blanket. It's my special day. The room has quieted, attention drawn to our interaction. Cynthia Richards watches with barely concealed satisfaction from nearby. Yes, I say softly. It is your day. I should go. Something in Chloe snaps. Perhaps it's the champagne or the pressure of the day or the weight of straddling 2 worlds. Whatever the cause, her face contorts with an ugly mixture of embarrassment and anger. Running away because you don't fit in? She hisses, loud enough for those nearby to hear. You always do this. Make everything about you and your feelings. I shake my head, stunned by the unfairness of the accusation. Chloe, I've never... You have. Her voice rises. Always the martyr, the struggling single mom, making sure everyone knows how hard you worked, how much you sacrificed. Do you know how suffocating that is? The room has gone completely silent now. Even the band has stopped playing. I never meant to, I begin, but she cuts me off again. Do you have any idea what it's like trying to build a career, a life, when you're dragging around a backstory like a ball and chain? She gestures wildly with her glass. People meet you and immediately think, oh, that's the teacher's daughter. How quaint. Each word lands like a physical blow. Decades of love and sacrifice reduced to an embarrassing origin story she wishes she could erase. I'm sorry you feel that way, I whisper, my voice somehow steady despite the earthquake inside me. Sorry doesn't change anything, Chloe snaps, Sorry doesn't make you fit in here. Sorry doesn't... Whatever else she might have said is lost as she gestures too emphatically, the contents of her wine glass arcing through the air in a perfect ruby parabola, straight onto my carefully chosen blue dress. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The red wine blooms across the fabric like a violence, seeping into the material my 3-month salary had barely covered. For a suspended moment, no one moves. Chloe's face freezes, her eyes widening as she registers what she's done. But instead of apologizing, she gives a short, harsh laugh. "Well," she says, looking around at her new social circle as if for approval, "I guess that saves you the trouble of preserving it for my daughters someday." The room holds its breath. Someone nervous laughs, quickly silenced. I look down at the spreading stain, then back at my daughter's face, a face I no longer recognize. "You're right," I say quietly. "Some things aren't worth preserving." I turn and walk toward the exit, my back straight, my pace measured. No one follows. No one offers a napkin or a kind word. Behind me, I hear the murmur of conversation slowly resume, the band tentatively beginning another song. Outside, the evening air feels cool against my flushed skin. The distant sound of waves breaking against the Charleston shore provides a rhythmic counterpoint to my racing heart. I take a deep breath, then another. My purse still contains the envelopes with final payments for the photographer and the caterer, checks they're expecting before the night ends. My phone holds the numbers of every vendor involved in creating this perfect day. For the first time in 30 years, I consider what it would mean to put myself first. The wine stain on my dress darkens in the evening air as I walk through the inn's immaculate gardens. String lights twinkle overhead, casting gentle illumination on the pathways designed for romantic strolls rather than humiliated retreats. Music and laughter spill from the reception hall behind me, the celebration continuing uninterrupted by my departure. I find a bench beside a small ornamental pond, my legs suddenly too weak to carry me farther. The reality of what just happened washes over me in waves. My daughter, my Chloe, had not only dismissed decades of sacrifice, but had actively, publicly, mocked them. The child I'd read "Goodnight Moon" to 1,000 times, whose scraped knees I'd bandaged, whose tears I'd dried, had thrown wine on me and laughed. My phone buzzes in my purse. Gloria, probably checking in. I'd promised to text her updates throughout the day, but had forgotten as events unfolded. I can't bear to answer now, to put into words what's happened. Instead, I pull out the 2 remaining envelopes containing the final payment checks. The caterers, $8,500 for the premium package Chloe insisted on after tasting the truffled appetizers. The photographers, $5,200 for the extended hours and additional prints. Checks I'd written last week, my hand trembling slightly at the sums that would drain my savings nearly dry. All my life, I've done the responsible thing. When James died, I took on extra work instead of falling apart. When bills piled up, I cut corners in my own life rather than providing Chloe with less. When retirement approached, I renovated my small house myself instead of hiring professionals, saving every possible dollar for Chloe's future. For what? To be treated as an embarrassment? To be hidden away at table 16 while the Richards family took credit for the celebration I'd funded? My fingers tighten around the envelopes. For the first time in my adult life, I consider doing something truly selfish. I pull out my phone and dial the number on the caterer's business card. "Palmetto Catering, this is Antoine." The voice sounds rushed, kitchen noise in the background. "Hello, Antoine. This is Margaret Lane." "Ah, mother of the bride. We were expecting you earlier with the final payment. Is everything to your satisfaction?" "Actually," I say, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. I'm calling about that payment. There's been a change of plans. A brief pause. I don't understand, madam. The service is already underway. The main course will be served in 20 minutes. Yes, I'm aware. My heart pounds, but my voice remains steady. Unfortunately, I won't be able to provide the final payment as planned. The background noise on his end diminishes, as if he stepped into a quieter space. Ms. Lane, perhaps there is some confusion. The contract clearly states that the final payment is due today, before the main course service. Without it, we cannot complete the catering as planned. I understand the terms completely, I reply. I'm simply informing you that I will not be fulfilling them. Silence stretches between us. Then, this is most irregular. May I ask why? A dozen possible answers flash through my mind. Because my daughter called me an embarrassing relic. Because I've spent my life giving to someone who sees me as nothing but a shameful origin story. Because, for once, I want the consequences of actions to fall where they belong. Personal reasons, I say finally. I apologize for any inconvenience. Antoine's professional demeanor cracks slightly. Madame, without the final payment, we will be forced to cease service immediately. This will be very disruptive to the reception. I understand, I repeat, feeling a strange, calm resolve settling over me. Do what you must. After ending the call, I sit perfectly still, surprised by my own actions, yet feeling no inclination to reverse them. The photographer is next. The conversation follows a similar pattern: confusion, protest, reluctant acceptance. Both vendors had the same question. Should they inform the bride or groom? To both, I gave the same answer. Please direct any inquiries to Ben Foster, the venue manager. I dial Ben's number last, my finger hesitating only briefly over the call button. Ms. Lane? His voice is concerned. Is everything all right? One of the servers mentioned there was some unpleasantness. Ben, I say, finding strength in the simple act of speaking truth. I'm calling to inform you that I won't be providing the extended hours payment we discussed. I see. His response is measured, professional. May I ask if there's a problem with the service? Number. The service has been impeccable. The issue is personal. A beat of silence. This will mean closing the reception at 10 p.m. instead of midnight, as originally contracted. I'm aware. Ben clears his throat. Ms. Lane, forgive me for asking, but does this decision have anything to do with what happened between you and your daughter? The question catches me off guard. Someone had noticed then. Someone had seen. You could say that, I admit. I understand. His tone suggests he truly might. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I've coordinated hundreds of weddings, and I've rarely seen a parent as generous and uncomplaining as you've been. Tears prick my eyes for the first time today. One simple acknowledgement of my efforts, from a virtual stranger, undoes me more than Chloe's cruelty. Thank you, Ben. I'll handle it from here, he assures me. Should I call you if there are issues? No need. I'm leaving now. After hanging up, I remain on the bench, listening to the distant sounds of celebration. Soon that celebration will falter. The carefully orchestrated evening will begin to unravel, thread by expensive thread. I should feel guilty. I should rush back and fix everything, as I've always fixed Chloe's problems. Instead, I feel only a profound weariness, followed by the first stirrings of something that might be freedom. I stand, gathering my purse and dignity, and begin walking toward the parking area. Behind me, I hear a commotion starting. Raised voices, hurried footsteps. The consequences of my decision arriving faster than I'd anticipated. My practical sedan sits among the luxury vehicles in the lot. As I reach for the door handle, a voice calls out, "Ms. Lane, wait please." I turn to find the young server who helped me find my table earlier, jogging toward me. "Ms. Lane, there's confusion inside. The caterers are packing up, saying something about payment issues." His expression is concerned, earnest. "The bride is asking for you." "Is she?" I can't help the skepticism in my voice. He shifts uncomfortably. "Well, not in those exact words. She's actually..." He trails off. "Creating a scene?" I suggest. He nods, relieved not to have to say it. "Mr. Foster asked me to find you. He thought you might want to intervene." For a moment, I consider it. The lifetime habit of rescuing, fixing, smoothing over. But then I remember the wine soaking into my carefully chosen dress, the laughter that followed, the years of sacrifice reduced to an embarrassing anecdote. "Please tell Mr. Foster I've left for the evening," I say gently. He has my full confidence to handle the situation as he sees fit. The young man hesitates, clearly torn between completing his assigned task and respecting my obvious distress. "Yes, ma'am," he says finally. "Can I tell them anything else?" I think for a moment. "Yes, tell them that actions have consequences." I drive away slowly, watching the elegant inn recede in my rearview mirror. The temptation to turn back tugs at me, the ingrained maternal instinct to protect my child, even from consequences of her own making. But for once I resist. At home, I peel off the wine-stained dress and step into the shower, letting hot water wash away the physical evidence of the day. My small bathroom, with its outdated fixtures and carefully maintained cleanliness, feels like a sanctuary after the opulence of the inn. Wrapped in my worn cotton robe, I make a cup of tea and sit in my favorite armchair by the window. The house is quiet, filled with memories of raising Chloe, her handprints in plaster on the mantel, school photos tracking her growth on the hallway wall, the height marks penciled on the kitchen doorframe. My phone, which I've been ignoring, buzzes again. This time, I answer. "Maggie!" Gloria's voice is warm, concerned. "How was the wedding?" "You never texted me." "Oh, Gloria." My voice breaks on her name. "What happened?" Alarm sharpens her tone. "Are you okay?" "I'm not sure," I admit. "I did something. I've never done anything like it before." "Tell me everything," she commands. So I do. The seating at table 16, Cynthia's barbed comments, Chloe's public mockery, the wine, my quiet retaliation. Gloria listens without interrupting, a talent she developed during her 30 years of teaching 4th grade. When I finish, the silence stretches between us. "Say something," I finally plead. "Tell me I'm a terrible mother. Tell me I ruined my daughter's wedding." "Maggie Lane," Gloria says with the crisp authority that once managed classrooms of unruly children. "You did not ruin that wedding. You simply stopped enabling the fiction that your sacrifices didn't matter." "But..." "No buts. That girl knew exactly what she was doing, seating you by the trash and mocking you to her fancy new friends. And she knew exactly who paid for that perfect day she wanted." "I never asked for recognition," I say softly. "Recognition? Number basic human respect? Absolutely?" Gloria sniffs audibly. "I'm proud of you, Maggie. It took you 65 years, but you finally stood up for yourself." Her approval loosens something tight in my chest. "They'll be furious." "Let them be. Reality can be uncomfortable when you've been avoiding it." As if on cue, my phone signals an incoming call. Chloe's name flashing on the screen. "That's her now," I tell Gloria. "Are you going to answer?" I stare at the phone, feeling the familiar pull of maternal obligation warring with my new, fragile sense of self-worth. "No," I decide. "Not tonight." "Good for you." Gloria approves. "Get some rest. I'll come by in the morning with breakfast and moral support." After we hang up, I silence my phone and place it face down on the side table. The missed calls will accumulate. The angry text messages will fill my inbox. But for tonight, I choose peace. Outside my window, the moon casts silver light across my modest garden. The rose bushes I tend each spring. The bird feeder James built shortly before he died. The small stone bench where I grade papers on warm days. It's nothing like the manicured elegance of Magnolia Creek Inn. But it's mine. Honest. Earned. For the first time in decades, I feel something like pride in the life I've built. Not just as Chloe's mother, but as Maggie Lane. Tonight, that's enough. Morning sunlight streams through my kitchen window as Gloria places a bakery box on the table. The aroma of fresh cinnamon rolls, my favorite indulgence, fills the small room. "You look better than I expected," she announces, studying my face as she pours coffee into mismatched mugs. "I thought I'd find you wallowing in maternal guilt." "Oh, I considered it," I admit, accepting the steaming mug gratefully. I barely slept, but every time I thought about calling Chloe or the vendors, I remembered the look on her face when she threw that wine. Gloria settles across from me, pushing the bakery box closer. How many messages did she leave? 23 calls, 14 texts. I haven't listened to the voicemails yet. Brave woman. Gloria takes a sip of her coffee. "So what's the plan?" Before I can answer, the doorbell rings. Through the front window, I glimpse a familiar car. Peter's sleek Mercedes parked at my curb looks as out of place as I felt at their wedding. "That didn't take long," Gloria mutters. I smooth my cotton housecoat, suddenly aware of my plain appearance. No makeup, hair unstyled, wearing clothes I'd never have worn in Cynthia Richards' presence. But this is my home, my sanctuary. I will not apologize for being comfortable in it. When I open the door, Peter stands alone on my porch, his tailored appearance rumpled from what must have been a difficult night. His eyes widen slightly at my casual state. "Mrs. Lane," he says formally. "May I come in?" I step aside, gesturing him into my modest living room. Gloria watches from the kitchen doorway, arms crossed protectively. "This is my friend Gloria," I introduce. "Gloria, this is Peter, Chloe's husband." "We've met," Gloria says coolly. "At the rehearsal dinner. I was seated by the kitchen door." Peter has the grace to look uncomfortable. "Mrs. Lane, I need to speak with you. About yesterday." "I assumed as much," I reply, settling into my armchair. "Would you like coffee?" He shakes his head, remaining standing despite the couch I've gestured toward. "Mrs. Lane, I don't know what happened between you and Chloe yesterday, but the reception fell apart after you left. Did it?" I keep my voice neutral. "The caterers packed up in the middle of dinner service. The photographer left with all his equipment. The venue manager announced at 9 o'clock that everyone needed to leave by 10. His composure cracks slightly. "My parents' friends were served half portions of entrees with no dessert. People were taking Ubers back to their hotels while it was barely dark outside." The petty part of me wants to savor this description, but I feel no real satisfaction, only a profound sadness that it came to this. "I'm sorry your guests were inconvenienced," I say carefully. Peter runs a hand through his hair in frustration. Inconvenienced? Mrs. Lane. It was a disaster. Chloe was hysterical. My mother had to take anxiety medication. The Richards name is associated with perfection, with excellence, not with reality? Gloria suggests from the doorway. He glares at her briefly before turning back to me. Ben Foster said all the vendors had payment issues, that final installments were suddenly cancelled. He seemed to think you might know something about that. I meet his gaze steadily. I do. His expression shifts from confusion to dawning realization. But my parents handled the wedding expenses. Did they? I asked quietly. Or did they just tell you they did? The venue, the catering, the photographer. He begins listing. Were my responsibility. I finished for him. I paid all the deposits. I arranged all the contracts. I was scheduled to complete final payments yesterday. Peter sinks onto the couch, his carefully constructed worldview visibly crumbling. But Chloe said, my mother always talked about... I don't understand. What did Chloe tell you about our financial arrangement for the wedding? He shakes his head slowly. That you were contributing what you could, but your teacher's pension was limited. That my parents were covering the real expenses. A sad smile touches my lips. I see. Why would she lie about that? Ask her, I suggest. Ask her why she seated her mother at a distant table by the kitchen entrance. Ask her why she felt comfortable mocking me to her bridesmaids. Ask her why she threw wine on my dress and laughed. Peter's face pales. She said it was an accident, that you overreacted and left in a huff. Gloria makes a disgusted noise. Of course she did. Mrs. Lane, Peter says after a long moment. Did you deliberately withhold those payments because of how Chloe treated you? The directness of the question deserves an honest answer. Yes. He nods slowly, processing this. I suppose I understand, but the humiliation for my family. Interesting that you mention humiliation. I interrupt, my voice still calm but firmer now. Did anyone in your family consider my humiliation when I was seated far from my only daughter? When I overheard your mother calling my Christmas decorations cheap? When Chloe publicly dismissed 30 years of sacrifice as an embarrassing backstory? Peter has the decency to look ashamed. I didn't know. I was caught up in appearances. I finish for him. In the production of a perfect day. Not in what a wedding is actually supposed to celebrate. Love, family, commitment. He stands suddenly. I should go. Chloe is waiting at the hotel. We were supposed to leave for our honeymoon today, but with everything that happened... Tell her I'll speak with her when she's ready to have an honest conversation. Not about money, but about respect. At the door, Peter pauses. Mrs. Lane? For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About all of it. After he leaves, Gloria and I sit in silence for several minutes, the cinnamon rolls forgotten. Well, she says finally. That was illuminating. I don't feel better, I admit. I thought I would, but I don't. Of course not. You're not vindictive, Maggie. You're just finally standing up for yourself. She reaches across the table to squeeze my hand. The question is, what happens now? I gaze out the window at my garden, where spring perennials are just beginning to emerge. Now I live my life. For me. My phone buzzes again. Chloe's name on the screen. This time, I don't even consider answering. She'll have to wait, I tell Gloria. I've spent 30 years putting her first. She can give me a few days to put myself first for once. Gloria raises her coffee mug in a toast. To Maggie Lane, finally the protagonist of her own story. 2 weeks pass. The azaleas in my garden burst into vibrant pink blooms, their beauty a stark contrast to the silence from my daughter. After Peter's visit, the phone call stopped. No more texts, no tearful appearances on my doorstep. I've settled into a strange new normal, teaching my Tuesday morning art class at the senior center, meeting Gloria for lunch on Thursdays, tending my garden in the cool mornings before the Charleston heat becomes oppressive. Simple pleasures I'd always rushed through before, my mind perpetually occupied with Chloe's needs and wants. "Any word?" Gloria asks as we share a pitcher of sweet tea on my back porch, the afternoon sun filtering through the oak trees that have shaded this property since before I was born. Nothing. I adjust the cushion behind my back. I checked my email this morning. Her honeymoon photos are all over social media. Santorini, I think. Blue domes and white buildings. The honeymoon they almost canceled because of the wedding disaster. Gloria raises an eyebrow. Apparently, they decided to go ahead with it. I don't mention how I know this, that I still check Chloe's Instagram page daily, studying her smiling photos for any hint of the fallout between us. "Have you decided what you'll say when she eventually calls?" Gloria has been preparing me for this inevitable conversation. I sip my tea considering. I'm not sure there's anything to say. No magic words that will suddenly make her understand 30 years of sacrifice or appreciate the woman behind the mother. Maybe not, Gloria agrees. But there's power in speaking your truth, even if it falls on deaf ears. The afternoon stretches comfortably between us. This is what friendship looks like at our age. The comfortable silences, the shared understanding of life's complexities, the absence of pretense. I think of Cynthia Richards, surrounded by her society friends, and wonder if she has anyone who sees beyond her cultivated image. "I'm thinking of selling the house," I say suddenly. Gloria sets down her glass. "That's a big decision. This place is too large for just me, too full of memories." I gesture toward the height marks on the kitchen door frame, visible through the screen door. "I've been looking at those garden apartments near the river, the ones with the community center and walking paths. Maggie Lane considering her own happiness? The world must be ending." Gloria's teasing holds genuine approval. "Don't get too excited. I'd still be using most of the proceeds for Chloe's." I catch myself, an old habit emerging unconsciously. "Actually, no. I'd use it for me. Maybe take that Mediterranean cruise we've talked about." Now you're talking. Gloria raises her glass in a toast. "To new beginnings." As if summoned by our conversation, my phone rings. An unknown Charleston number. "Ms. Lane," a familiar voice says when I answer. "This is Ben Foster." "Ben, this is unexpected." "I hope I'm not disturbing you," he says. "I wanted to update you on a situation relating to the wedding." I tense slightly. "What's happened?" "Nothing new," he assures me. "But I thought you should know that we've received several inquiries from local society columnists about the abrupt conclusion to the Richards Lane wedding. Of course, a prominent family like the Richards couldn't have a wedding disaster without attracting attention." "I see," I say carefully. "And what have you told them?" "Nothing specific, but Mrs. Richards has been telling people that there was a tragic miscommunication with vendors." His tone suggests what he thinks of this characterization. "A creative interpretation," I murmur. "Indeed." He pauses. "Ms. Lane, I've worked with the Richards family on several events over the years. They're influential in Charleston society." I understand his unspoken warning. "You're concerned they might damage your reputation." "Not at all," he says, surprising me. I'm calling because the truth matters to me. Several vendors have approached me, concerned about their own reputations. They want to clarify that they fulfilled all contractual obligations until payment was withdrawn. I understand. You have my permission to be honest if asked directly. Thank you. He hesitates. There's one more thing. After you left, before the service disruptions began, I overheard your daughter speaking with Mrs. Richards. She was upset about your departure. My heart tightens. I'm sure she was embarrassed. Actually, she was crying. His voice softens. She said, "I didn't mean it. I just wanted to impress them." Mrs. Richards told her to compose herself, that scenes were inappropriate. The image catches in my throat. Chloe crying, being told her emotions were inconvenient for appearances. How many times had the Richards family's expectations smothered her authentic feelings? Before I can respond, there's a knock at my front door. I need to go, Ben. Thank you for calling. Gloria peers through the window. It's her. I smooth my hair automatically, then stop myself. I am who I am, a 65-year-old former teacher in a simple cotton dress, sitting on her own porch. No apologies. Chloe stands on my doorstep, her designer sunglasses pushed up into her hair, her face stripped of the perfect makeup she wore at the wedding. She looks younger, vulnerable. "Mom," she says, her voice small. "Chloe." I don't move to embrace her, don't automatically offer tea or cookies as I would have before. Gloria's here. "Hi, Gloria," Chloe says, barely glancing at my friend. "Mom, can we talk? Privately?" Gloria squeezes my shoulder as she gathers her purse. "Call me later," she murmurs before slipping past Chloe with a curt nod. When we're alone, Chloe remains standing awkwardly in my living room, taking in the familiar surroundings as if seeing them for the first time. "You're back from your honeymoon," I observe. We cut it short. She fidgets with her wedding ring. Peter and we've been doing a lot of talking. I wait, allowing her the space to continue without rescuing her from the discomfort. "Mom, I don't know how to do this." Her composure cracks. "I don't know how to apologize for something so awful." "You could start by trying," I suggest quietly. Tears fill her eyes. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. For the seating, for what I said, for the wine, for all of it." The words tumble out. I was trying so hard to belong in Peter's world, to make his family accept me. I thought I had to erase where I came from to fit in there. "And did it work?" I ask. "Did humiliating me make you belong?" She shakes her head, tears falling freely now. Number nothing did. The harder I tried, the more I felt like an imposter. And then the wedding fell apart, and everyone saw what a fraud I was anyway. My heart aches for her, even through my hurt. "Oh, Chloe." "Peter told me what you did, about the payments." She wipes her eyes. "At first, I was furious, but then he asked me why I'd lied about who was funding the wedding, why I'd treated you the way I did, and I didn't have any answer that didn't make me sound terrible." I gesture to the couch, finally inviting her to sit. "The truth often does that." She sinks down, looking exhausted. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that I understand what I did, how wrong it was." I study my daughter's face, seeing traces of both the little girl she was and the woman she's becoming. Forgiveness isn't a single moment, Chloe. It's a process, for both of us. "Can we start that process?" she asks softly. "I miss my mom." I join her on the couch, leaving space between us. "I miss my daughter too, but I can't go back to who I was before, always putting your needs first, always making myself smaller to accommodate your life. I wouldn't want you to, she says with surprising conviction. I've done a lot of thinking these past 2 weeks about who I want to be, about the kind of relationship we could have, should have, as equals. For the first time since the wedding, I feel a flutter of hope, not for an instant reconciliation or a return to old patterns, but for something new, something healthier. That sounds like a beginning, I tell her, a new one. Outside, clouds drift across the Charleston sky, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow across my garden. Inside, my daughter and I sit together, navigating the delicate space between our past and whatever future we might build. 2 women finding our way toward understanding. It will take time. It will take work. But today, in this moment, it feels possible. And for now, that's enough. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch and it will talk.